All right. Hello, everybody. I am so sorry I'm not there today. I know we were already a little bit behind from Wednesday. My daughter got sick, so I have to take her to the doctor again today. I'll be back on Monday, but we are still going to do lesson 10 right now. So this is what we were going to do the second half of Wednesday. It shouldn't take too long. So if you remember from the first part of class, we finished up lesson 9, which was the first part was doing like roots with variables in it, right? So something like that. And then that's what we did on Tuesday. And then the first part of Wednesday was simplifying numbers. Okay, so doing like, I don't know, the cubed root of 512. Okay, so something like that. So you got your green sheets. So I have mine split screened. So we're going to put those two things together right now. Okay, so up at the top, 1 through 4, those are just quick review questions. So those two things I just talked about. So like simplifying, square root of 24. So remember, you go to your square root list, which is the first column, and you find a number that goes into 24. Oops. So you can always divide things, right? So can't be bigger than 24. So you could do 24 divided by 16. That doesn't work. 9, that doesn't work. So it's got to be 4. And 4 times 6 is 24. Square root of 4 is 2. Okay, so that's 2 root 6. Okay, same thing with the cubed root of 24. So same number, but different type of root, right? So then you go look at the cube root list. So that's these numbers. So you can't use 4 and 6 anymore because 4 is not in the list. Right? So the number in the cubed root list that goes into 24 is actually 8. And then 8 times 3 is 24. Okay, so then that'd be 2 cubed root 3. Okay, so that's what we did the first part of Wednesday. And then just a recap of what we talked about on Tuesday, that is the variables. So remember, you're trying to write exponents with the same number as the root. So if this is a square root, there's really an invisible 2 there. So you're trying to rewrite everything with 2's. Make this a little smaller. Maybe not. So I'm going to go x squared, x squared, x squared, x squared, right? Because it's 8 of them. 2, 4, 6, 8. And then y to the 7th would be y squared, y squared, y squared, and then y. All right, there's 1 left over. Okay, and then anything that is the same, that matches that root number, you can cancel it out and take that letter out. Okay, so there was a total of 1, 2, 3, 4 x's, 1, 2, 3 y's, and then you still have that square root, and then there's the 1 y that's left inside. Okay, so that's what we did at the beginning part of class. Okay, I'm going to skip over 4 just for time's sake, and then we're not going to do all of these examples, but I just want to show you how to put those two things together. Okay, so looking at number 5, it's the square root of 16x to the third. So you have numbers and you have variables. So you really just want to do these separately and then figure out where the things go to put your answer together. Okay, so I typically like leaving the number there and worrying about that later. Okay, so I'm just going to do the variables. So x to the third. So this is an invisible 2. So I'm going to go x squared and then x, because that's 3. Okay, because it was x to the third. And then again, I'm just kind of ignoring the 16 right now, but I can take out an x, and then that leaves me with the square root of 16 and x. Okay, so that's the variables. Now you have to worry about the numbers. So just off to the side somewhere, I'm just going to do the number. So the square root of 16. Well, if you go to your list, square roots, square root of 16, that's just a nice number. That's 4. Okay, so when you go to write your answer, you don't have this 16 anymore. Your answer to that is 4, but you have to think, does that 4 go outside the root or does it go inside? So this goes outside because there is no root on the 4 anymore. It would go inside if it looked like that, but it doesn't look like that. Okay, so the 4 is going to go out front. So this would be 4x. And then the square root of, I got rid of the 16, so the x stays inside. Okay? It's a little weird. I'm going to do another one. So number 6, you have the square root of 50, a to the 5th, b to the 8th. Okay, that's an invisible 2. So again, I'm going to leave the 50. and I'm going to do the A's. So I want to write it with 2's. Okay, so that would be 5, right? 2 of them would be 4, and then 1 left over. And then b to the 8th, I can go b squared. I can do that 4 times. Okay, then I circle anything I can take out, anything that matches. So that's 1, 2 A's. So you could write them separately, or you can just put a squared. And then 1, 2, 3, 4 b's. So that's b to the 4th. Okay, and then you're left with the square root of 50a. Okay, so then off to the side, you do the number. So the square root of 50. Okay, when you go to your list, 50 is not in that perfect square list, right? It goes from 49 to 64, so 50 is not there. So you have to break it down and find a perfect square that goes into 50. Okay, so if you look at your list, that'd be 25 times 2. 25, square root of 25 is 5. So you get 5 root 2. Okay, so now here's where you have 2 different numbers. So the 5 is outside the root, and the 2 is inside the root. So when you go to write your answer, you don't have the 50 anymore. You put the 5 outside, and then you can do your a squared, b to the 4th. And then you have your square root. There's a 2 inside, and then that a. Okay, so do the letters, do the numbers, and then put them together. Figure out what goes outside, what goes inside. Okay, so that's 2 examples of square roots. You can do 7 if you want. It's just another square root. I am going to go to number 8. Okay, so this is a cube root. So again, I'm just going to leave the number, and I'm going to do the variables. Okay, this says x squared. I can't put an x to the 3rd because that's too many, right? That's bigger than 2. So I just have to leave that x squared, and that means I can't take any x's out. Okay, y to the 6th. I can go y to the 3rd and y to the 3rd. So whatever has a 3 on it, I can take those out. So that's 2 y's that I'm taking out. And then I still have this cubed root of 125 and then x squared. Okay, so then just like the other ones, off to the side, I'm going to simplify this cubed root of 125. So again, make sure you use the right list. This is the cube root list. And look, 125 is in there. Okay, that has a nice answer. So it's just 5. So this is kind of like that first one we did. So you don't have that anymore. So the 5 comes outside because there is no root there. And then you have your y squared. Oops. You have your y squared. And then in that cube root, you just have the x squared because we simplified the 125. Okay. How about you guys try, why don't you do number 10? Okay, you guys try number 10. If the sub can just pause the video for maybe just a minute or two, you guys try this one, number 10, and then come back and we'll check it and then we'll be done. Okay, pause. Okay, so hopefully you tried this and didn't just sit and stare at it and wait for me to do it. So I'm going to go through this one. So leave the number. Okay, variables. Magic number is a 3. So that already says a 3. So I'm going to leave that x to the 3rd. Y to the 10th, I can go y to the 3rd 3 times because that's 9, and then there's 1 left over. So I can take out an x. I can take out 3 y's. And then I'm going to leave the cube root of 512 and then that 1y at the end. Okay, then off to the side, hopefully you simplified the cube root of 512. Okay, you don't have to do any calculating because that's in your list. That's that bottom one there. The cube root of 512 is just 8. Okay, that's an outside number. So the 8 would go outside, and then it'd be x, y to the 3rd. And then don't forget the little 3 on the root. You don't have that 512 anymore, and then it's just the y. Okay, so that's what your answer should look like. Okay, we'll probably just touch base on this again on Monday, just at the start of class, see how you did with it. But for the rest of class today, you can do your exit slip. So this is lesson 10. And then if you have some extra time and you need to finish lesson 9, day 1 or 2, from earlier this week, you can do that too. Okay? Email me if you need anything, but I hope you guys have a great weekend. Okay, thanks. Bye.